All right. Next up, I want to introduce, oh, I'm sort of not on the stage. Next up, I want to introduce Zaki, who's going to be talking about navigating Cosmos. And yeah, we found the mic for questions, just for future Q&As. Yeah, it's this little thing. Just be sure to say the question into that so that we capture it for the live stream. Cool.
Hey, thank you very much. Okay. So this is a talk that is tangentially related to the topic of this conference, which is the question of, like, how do I actually build something in the Cosmos? And I think, like, 2021 has been an enormously successful year for Cosmos. The IBC vision, like, finally came true, and it basically did everything we said it would for the last 5 years, which is kind of wild. And now we see lots of people building new zones, lots of people employing privacy tech. I'd say one of the things that we do the worst in Cosmos is it is extremely hard to figure out, like, how do you get all the knowledge to build the thing that you want to build? And the people who are so far been most successful at building things in Cosmos tend to be people who've been in the ecosystem for a long time, who worked at Tendermint during the, like, when we were, like, sort of building all the initial pre-launch things, people who are, like, associated with the ICF or an existing validator. These are the people who've been building in Cosmos. And so what I'm going to try and do in this talk is kind of explain how does building stuff on Cosmos work, with some goal of trying to make it more approachable to people who aren't, like, already in our social network of people who, like, can, like, help you navigate. So Cosmos is, like, highly decentralized. There is no one labs company that, like, coordinates all the building, that does all the business development. Like, there isn't there isn't even a single organization that probably has, like, the entire top to bottom stack of how everything works, like, in their institutional knowledge. Like, everything is highly decentralized. I also think it's, like, very good that, like, it's very good for, like, resilience. This project is also essentially 7 years old. Like, 2014 is really the origin of Tendermint and the Cosmos idea and the world of interoperable blockchains. And so typically when you're building in Cosmos, you will encounter situations where you have to, like, cross from, like, domain expertise to domain expertise to domain expertise. You can't just find, like, one organization, partner with them, and expect them to sort of help you. So we're going to try and figure out, like, in this world, like, how would you build something on Cosmos? These are, like, common questions that I hear. Like, here are a bunch of, like, I want to build thing. Like, I have discovered that I am at, like, some sort of technical impasse. I don't know what to do next. This doesn't even get into the question of, like, how do I get funded? Though that has, like, largely become a much easier question because it's, like, no longer anti-consensus to fund Cosmos things. I don't think that these questions are, like, the only questions or, like, the most important questions, but, like, basically, like, from my little segment of, like, trying to help people build on top of Cosmos, this is I hear this a lot. The other thing about these questions is they don't tend to have one answer. There isn't only, like, part of this whole thing about sovereignty, interoperability, is there are, like, very many answers to all of these questions. Like, I want to write an application that interacts with IBC and, like, want to do it, like, relatively quickly. Like, you could write your application as a Cosmos SDK module. You could write your application as an Evmos smart contract. You could write your application as an Agoric smart contract. You could write your application in Rust on top of CosmWasm. And, like, these are all answers. How would you decide? How do you, like, decide in this trade-off space? So why? And I think there's like, to go even further down the rabbit hole as to why, before I try and answer this question, is the way Cosmos achieves decentralization is we decouple research, implementation, and go-to-market at, like, a sort of very profound level. If you think about, for instance, the life cycle of IBC, right? It was most of the core research was done at like Informal and the Interchain Foundation, going back to like extensive research on Tendermint light clients. Then implementation, again, was like split up among multiple organizations. And then go-to-market was basically done by osmosis. So like, that's a very unusual pattern in the technology industry. It's a very unusual pattern in the blockchain industry. And it like represents like the fundamental decentralization of Cosmos. And like, while the story of like decoupling research, implementation, and go-to-market for IBC or like for ICS for like token transfers over IBC is basically done, we are still like, there are many ways in which this like is in an intermediary state. So like the auth-z functionality, for instance, which lets you delegate account functionality, like the implementation is done and shipped. Has go-to-market is still like in its early stages, and there's like various validators like figuring out UIs and stuff like that, and eventually someone is going to nail it. I think there are some things like interchain staking where we're trying to do a very sort of tightly coordinated go-to-market, but that's more the exception than the rule in the way Cosmos is like builds. So you as a builder should not feel like you have to start at the beginning at the research stage, or that the people who are doing research on something like ABCI++ are going to do the go-to-market for it, because like historically that's not how things worked. So you as a builder should feel comfortable jumping in at any stage of this process and being like, hey, like I see you have been researching this stuff, I will work on an implementation. I see you have built something, we could work on, I could do a go-to-market. This is a sort of unique thing that exists within the Cosmos ecosystem, where you can grab these pieces of open source technology that we all build. We are all basically fully committed to building in the open. There's very little in Cosmos that is like tightly siloed in some private repo that you have to like ask permission. You typically like see what it is that we're working on and jump in. So yeah, this is the... Okay, so the other thing is Cosmos has a lot of documentation, like tons of documentation. Documentation in source code, documentation in the Tendermint spec repo. You know, there's like a 20-page IBC spec. But I've basically seen very few examples of people succeeding in this ecosystem self-onboarding through our docs. Like, the docs serve a purpose, but this is not, like, you can't do this via documentation. So one of the most powerful things to have in Cosmos is mentors. There are a lot of people, like, basically I would describe the like standard way things get built on Cosmos is people find mentors who have like domain expertise on the things that are providing like, who can help them with like architecture, help them with the trade-offs of like, do I build my thing as a Cosmos SDK module, a CosmWasm smart contract, an EVM smart contract? And this is very much like the nature of Cosmos. So how do I find a mentor? And this, I think, I'm going to try, like, this part of the presentation is an attempt to, like, sort of, like, kind of list people who would help with, like, different mentorships and, like, sort of different technical verticals. It cannot be a comprehensive list. I almost certainly forgot someone. Like, I just put this together in the last, like, 2 days. Also, I'll probably give this talk again. So it'll get better over time. But, like, there are a lot of people sort of sitting in this area of the room who like know how to build stuff in Cosmos, and you know you should take advantage if you are sort of not in the tent right now to like meet these people, build relationships, because they'll also be the ones to help you find like so yeah. People who have been building in like the sort of core Cosmos community have been working on this for something on the order of 4 to 8 years. So there's like a huge amount of context that like has been built up. Like they're basically like the only blockchain projects that are as old as Cosmos are like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cosmos. Like we've been at this for a very, very long time. Okay, so like what is the general process of working in Cosmos? The general process of working in Cosmos is we set up a shared Slack or a Telegram group or a Discord. We recruit, we like try and, you find one person who kind of knows the sort of Cosmos landscape of people and expertise, and then we try to bully, invite, invest, do deals, do business development, and then we sort of allocate that, and then we start to have regular calls about a given project. There's some regular touch point that gets built up. Everybody hates more calls, but this seems to be the best way to maintain technical momentum over years. So there are generalist Cosmos experts, and it's when I say generalist Cosmos expert, it's people who have some familiarity with almost all of the pieces of Cosmos. Again, not a comprehensive list, but this is it's very, very helpful to have access to the generalist Cosmos experts. And if you kind of look at what is going on in Cosmos, there is a lot of there's a lot of kind of trying to get access to those people, find who to talk to, in order to sort of be a generalist Cosmos expert, you probably have to know a significant amount about how Tendermint works. You have to have significant Cosmos SDK dev experience, and you need to have a significant amount of IBC experience at this point. Otherwise, you're really not going to be able to help. But the generalist Cosmos experts are kind of the just sort of the sharp end of the spear, and frequently they also are sort of overloaded by the sheer number of projects that they are helping, involved in, advising, etc. So this can't be the entire world. And so, all of these people are very active in the ecosystems, but they also tend to have projects that they are playing executive level roles in, and people are busy. So yeah, I'm gonna give people's some combination of names, handles. It's hard to navigate the space. You can definitely find me online if you actually want to be hey, how do I get in touch with this person? The Cosmos SDK is a little bit different because it is much less dependent on mentorship. There are a bunch of sharp edges to the Cosmos SDK, especially around how do you upgrade from one version of your module to another version of your module. But on the whole, it's mostly just a process of sort of learning as you go. IBC, on the other hand, is an extremely complex protocol where there's an enormous amount of domain expertise, and people are able to pull off crazy stuff. Getting when Juno was restarted, in order to update the IBC channels, you had to pull blocks from the pre-crash version of the pre-security vulnerability version of Juno and the post-security vulnerability version of Juno, and push them over an IBC channel to update all the IBC channels and revive the osmosis token trading for Juno. And the ability to understand how all of these pieces fit together is extremely domain specific. I think building new IBC application protocols, interoperating smart contracts with IBC, doing IBC state machines that are not based on Tendermint or the Cosmos SDK, all of these things, huge amount of domain expertise that is slowly being built up and slowly being disseminated into the world. There's still a lot of missing pieces, but help is available. Until recently, I would say, until basically maybe the last few months, I would basically say that building a non-Cosmos SDK Tendermint app was basically not something that was something that was a well-described process. It's a thing that a lot of people are interested in because they want to bring code that was written in other ecosystems. They want to write their application in Rust. They want to use advanced cryptography. It's becoming much more approachable to do this because you have Anoma and Penumbra building with open source repos and being able to see how they are solving all of these problems, and it's actually becoming much more likely that someone could succeed. Bridging is like another sort of huge topic. So you want to reach, like virtually everybody who builds in Cosmos kind of comes to this question of, hey, like IBC is great. The IBC ecosystem has many billions of dollars of assets, but it is not everything. I want to be able to talk to Ethereum. I want to be able to talk to Avalanche. I want to talk to all of these other things. There is a huge amount of like enormously complex stuff going on in the bridging space in Cosmos, and that's another sort of very tricky piece to like understand. Do I use the gravity bridge? Do I use Axelar? Do I use Gravity Bridge? Do I use Axelar? Do I use Wormhole? Like, what is my bridging story going to be, and how am I going to interoperate beyond the IBC world? Enormously complex topic. Definitely requires mentorship. Otherwise, you're just going to like stumble over the same problems that like many other projects have. So, you're interested in building on Cosmos. You don't know what do you do now. So, like, the best things to do are to, like, DM people, find people on Telegram, find people on Twitter, tweet about it. I think I follow, like, basically every account that has ever tweeted anything interesting about Cosmos. Like, you can DM me. We'll help. I do read cold emails to iqlusion, hello@iqlusion.io. Probably don't respond to them as much as I should, but I definitely read them. And I'm sure there are lots of other ways to like get in touch with other Cosmos ecosystem participants. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is there any questions maybe before Zaki goes away?
Questions?
Yep. I'm just going to throw it, so please catch it.
Nice catch.
And
no.
Sorry, but that's what we're going to do. So if anybody has a question, you just have to catch the pillow.
Cool. So obviously, like that covers off a lot of the more technical, like building side.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any guide for like the more like governance-y, like marketing, BD side of like the entire?
Yeah, I could have given like a whole talk on that. I honestly think. So like, that is like another area that like, so there's like a couple of stories here. Like one is, like every other part of Cosmos works the same way as the technical piece, i.e., there isn't like any central entity that does anything. Like our most effective marketing channels are like a random swarm of like awesome YouTube people and like Twitter influencers who have like built organic communities of sort of like cosmonauts. You know, like Strangelove and Cryptocito like do like regular like YouTube live streams. In general, like getting like into that community is a great way of like communicating to the faithful. You know, from a fundraising point of view, there's like like most crypto funds have like are like fairly positive about investing in things in Cosmos because IBC worked. And so like it's generally easy to do that, and like sort of general crypto PR. There's also like a lot of overlap in like PR firms that a lot of different Cosmos projects work. So like, you know, you can get intros and be like sort of in the same network. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
I'll do, I guess, one more question.
Yeah, sorry. So thanks. So if the goal is to keep, well, let's say to scale the ability to support new projects that are building, do you imagine it as basically keeping this general model of mentorship, but adding, you know, going from like 10 to 1,000 of these mentors and sort of experts who can help, or would you expect that at some point it'll need to switch to some other model for like incubating and supporting new chains?
I'm kind of fairly bullish that like we're going to be able to like scale this way of doing things. Like it like works well. Like a big part of like what is I think glorious about Cosmos is also that there's like we designed a system that like doesn't have the gatekeepers for making big changes that like other ecosystems have. Like you can just like build a project, permissionlessly connect to the IBC network, like build your own marketing channels and like do stuff and like bring value and attention. And you can, if you want to like build a new, more advanced version of Tendermint, you don't have to like even talk, you don't have to convince the Tendermint team, just like build it and like connect it to IBC, and like people will be like, oh, that's awesome, and maybe people will upstream like your stuff. I think this like sovereignty plus interoperability model is very amenable to this like kind of like organic expansion, and all we have to do is like sort of like take like make sure that we like are steadily turning every like successful builder into like half a dozen more mentors, and we can just like organically scale to like the ends of the earth. So thanks, Will.
Okay, one more round of applause for Zaki.